What's up? Welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod. Dave here with a review of The Last of Us Season 1 on HBO. Man, I would not have thought that The Last of Us, a video game adaptation, would become the biggest show in the history of HBO, but this show really dominated the first quarter of the year in an awesome way, in a way only really shows on HBO can, becoming that Sunday night water cooler show, averaging 30 million plus viewers an episode, 40 million plus on the premiere. It's going to pass House of the Dragon very soon as the most popular, in terms of viewership, HBO show. Kind of crazy, but then again, hats off to I think HBO and Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann for really nailing it. I had a lot of faith in this creative team, but I think they really exceeded expectations. And the fact that they were able to pull in people beyond the core, PlayStation video game franchise fan base, I think says a lot about how successful this show has been. And yeah, I think overall, I really loved season one. Really cannot wait for season two, which we have to imagine is a ways out in terms of how long it takes to make this show. I think the show looks great, but it has so many locations, right? The first season was a 200 plus day shoot. It takes a long time to make this show. But thankfully, that also shows when you do get to, in fact, watch it. It looks amazing. Um, yeah, I think overall, it was a really transportive series, really nailing that, dystopian post-apocalyptic vibe in terms of throwing you in an overgrown world, showing you the danger out there, not just from the undead, but also from, of course, real people. Familiar themes, of course, but they really nailed that. But the reason I think Last of Us has sustained itself as a popular video game story, and one of the best in terms of video game storytelling as far as that goes, is because of the richness of the characters and the depth of these themes. Like the fact that this is taking place in post-apocalyptic world with, fungal zombies is besides the point of what this is really about. And that is clearly why this show has latched on beyond its core gaming fan base. Because this is a series, this is a story that's concerned with something more elevated, something more uh, granular and full of depth than just survival out in the world of zombies. Not that the zombie stuff isn't effective; it certainly is. But I really love that there are vast swaths of this series where the zombies are not around, the clickers are not around. It is good because it just leads to, I think, better moments. In this journey for Joel and Ellie. Obviously, the lone wolf and cub protector stuff that we get here, very familiar. Of course, Pedro Pascal fans know it well with The Mandalorian, but also like the core series story of this series is Children of Men, Alfonso Cuarón's classic. This none of this is, I think, lost on people, but just the investment that you get with these characters and how richly drawn they are, I think, is what really brings people to this story. And what really surprised me in an amazing way about the series is they were able to color in the lines with, I think, other characters, side stories, and really make this world feel lived in, but also really nail down these themes and connect everything back to the Joel and Ellie journey. I think obviously episode three with Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett, absolutely superb, gutting episode, both giving you like the hardcore genre stuff of like this prepper guy who survived the zombie apocalypse, and that's amazing. But then really transitioning that into this amazing love story and relating that to Joel and Tess, like I think it's an amazing episode. It's got a ton of plaudits, obviously, when it came out, episode three. People know this, but in general, like the series was able to, I think, really nail like casting on the margins, right? Nick Offerman and Marie Bartlett for one episode. You have Anna Torv as Tess for just a little bit. You have Melanie Linsky as Kathleen in the Kansas City arc. You have Scott Shepard as like the cannibal preacher guy. You have cameos from the voice cast of the game, Troy Baker, Ashley Johnson, and Laura Bailey. Like they really, of course, Storm Reed in the Left Behind uh, episode, which is a reference, of course, to the DLC of The Last of Us in the game. They really nailed the casting, like across the board. And of course, we know Pedro Pascal is a steady pair of hands, but he gets a lot more to do on The Last of Us than he does in, say, The Mandalorian, where he's wearing a helmet all the time and not even in camera half the time with a stunt double doing stuff for him instead. We know Pascal can nail it, and he gets, I think, a lot of growth, of course, the season in terms of a character and him as an actor in a fun way. And Bella Ramsey, I think, really met the moment as well. think it was an exciting piece of casting when it was announced. Of course, Lyanna Mormont from Game of Thrones, she was quite young when that was done. She's older now, but they're older now. But Bella really, I think, nailed it as Ellie, and the Ellie dynamic with Joel, I think, really works, and also the how these characters changed in the finale and how they see each other, with Joel becoming incredibly paternalistic, and where that what that leads him to do violently in the finale, contrasting that with Ellie's perhaps unease with how things are going, and then her clear distrust of Joel at the onset of the finale's ending. I think they really crushed it, and like showed, I think, a lot of range towards the end of the season. That was really good. Um, yeah, I think just overall, like, I was really struck with like Joel's, I think, PTSD, and then the show really like hitting the morality play with you. Watching him do what he does with the Fireflies in the finale. It's tough to watch. It's gutting stuff. I think throughout the series, a lot of the violence and the really heinous stuff that happens, it's always shot and handled, I think, in a really tasteful way, which I think is a smart choice. So you don't have to be overly like ultra violent with anything, and the show isn't. But at the same time, it doesn't shy away from stuff. There's some frames of bodies dropping, and you see people on the floor bleeding out, and it just lingers there for just enough time to really hit you with what's going on. Um, and we're obviously set up with, man, it's like it's so rich what we're set up for season two, right? Joel lying to Ellie, and Ellie clearly sensing something's off. That is so much more meaty and rich for drama and narrative growth than anything else you could try and set up with in terms of like a zombie set piece or some kind of survival moment. When we got a zombie set piece like at the end of the Kansas City stuff in episode 5, it was great. Of course, it looked amazing, it was harrowing, incredible action. But this kind of ending, the way the finale ends, what is all character, I think that's why this is like an HBO drama series, and that is why the show is so much bigger than what maybe a lot of people thought it would have been, as just the latest video game adaptation of a popular franchise. So I was really thrilled with just how great the series was, and I thought it was incredibly effective week after week, nailing its casting, nailing its atmosphere, nailing its visuals as they rapidly changed. It's a world that you want to spend time in, even though spending time in it isn't the best hang, and I think that's just a great compliment. So, given that it doesn't even seem clear that they're in full production yet in season two, I would not expect that series back next year, maybe at the end of next year. But we're probably looking at, if they wanted to just do the same kind of drop, January 2025 is probably doable. But otherwise, maybe the end of next year is in play. But it seems like it's going to be a while, just like it's going to be a while for House of the Dragon and Rings of Power and all these big shows that take a while to get turned around. I say take all the time you need. Obviously, this is a very taxing production for the cast and crew and the creators. So I think we have to be sympathetic to that. But yeah, I think HBO really setting up an amazing year to go from The Last of Us, wait 2 weeks, and then go into the final season of Succession, the final season of Barry. Like they're killing it, like they usually are. But let me know, how'd you feel about Last of Us season one? Are you a fan of the games? How'd you like how it differed? What it added? What it took away? Did you not watch the game, play the games at all? Was it just a show for you? How'd you feel about it? And for more HBO, more TV, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.